Okay, is she recording, child? Let me tell y'all, I tried to do this video once already, and then my computer just decided to shut down randomly. So I'm partially annoyed. But then again, not really, because the story that I started, it was kind of like very meh. So I ain't too mad. So I'm hoping that this stays on, doesn't cut out on me, and we can get through one of these videos. All right, let's do it. Three, oh, this is going to be three Airbnb horror stories, which is, child, I'm always nervous about them as it is, so I might be a little triggered.
Back in January of 2019, I went on a skiing trip in the Swiss Alps with three of my good friends from college. We booked a large 4-bedroom cabin in the mountains about a month in advance on Airbnb. When we booked it, the listing said that the basement was off limits. For some reason, the host didn't want us going down there. I didn't think anything out of the ordinary because some people like to keep part of their home private.
Um, I'm, girl, why even have your thing on listing if you're afraid of people going into a part of your house? Like, I don't know. But then again, even as the consumer, if you talk about the basement's off limit, I'm already assuming a dead body. I'm already assuming a dead body. I'm assuming that there's like bodies in there that's like cut up, maybe in a freezer or some shit.
When we arrived, the cabin looked much larger from what the pictures on Airbnb showed. The place was awesome. It was massive. It had a huge open porch area with a fire pit. Out back was an elevated balcony with a huge outdoor hot tub that had an amazing view of the Swiss Alps. Inside, they had a brick fireplace and a large kitchen area. Right around the corner from the kitchen was a door that led down to the basement. I tried opening it, but it was locked. And then I quickly remembered what the Airbnb listing said about it being off limits. It didn't matter though, because the rest of the cabin was incredible. They even had ping pong, air hockey, and a pool table in their separate entertainment room. My three friends and I were so exhausted from the long 2-day trip out there, so we ended up going straight to bed the first night. The bedroom I stayed in was right next to the door to the basement.
Child,
At around 2 in the morning,
girl, would not be me. I would get the room the furthest away from that motherfucker. Hell nah. Whatever he got going on, I want that far away from me.
on the first night, I was woken up from a sound sleep by a strange scratching sound followed by soft groaning. I had never heard anything like it. I heard the sound coming from behind the basement door.
Oh, see, nope. Anybody got time for that? I told y'all, if it's, why would you go to a house that said the basement is off limits? There's a reason the basement is off limits. I'm already, girl.
But as soon as I stood next to the door, the sound stopped. I decided to shut all the lights off and stood at the side of the door waiting for it to start up again. It must have been about 15 minutes before something chilling happened. All of a sudden, I began to hear the same disturbing scratching noise again. This time,
What the
the soft
fuck?
groaning turned into weeping and crying. It sounded as if someone was trying to escape from the basement. I didn't know what to think because we were just guests in this Airbnb. But at the same time, we thought we were alone. This was new information to me, and
Girl,
I had to let my friends know about what I heard. The next morning, I told them what had happened. They didn't believe me at first, until the next night when they decided to get up at 2 a.m. with me to hear what was going on. It was happening again. The same exact sounds of scratching and weeping from the night before. Now my friends believed me after hearing it for themselves. One of
Oh,
my friends, Trevor, suggested that we knock on the door to see what happens.
Trevor, you're stupid. I mean, I can hear what's happening. I don't need to knock to see what's going to happen. Honestly, I'd probably call the police. I'm not even gonna lie. I might as well just call the police because it's like clearly somebody's either in danger or if it is a crazy person, then the police need to be here anyway. Hey, I'm not about to knock on the. What you gonna knock on the door for, girl? For what?
I thought this was a terrible idea
Because it is.
because we had absolutely no idea what was down there. And judging by the sounds, it was not good. We couldn't think of another way of finding out what it was. We still had 4 more nights at this place, so we needed a solution, or else we wouldn't be able to sleep the rest of the trip, knowing something is in the basement. We decided to go with Trevor's plan of knocking on the door, but beforehand, we found objects around the cabin that we could use as weapons just in case something bad happened.
Okay, at least you're looking for weapons. I have some faith in y'all, but still, I feel like knocking is still stupid.
We braced ourselves for the worst as Trevor loudly knocked. Immediately, we heard footsteps racing down the basement staircase,
Okay, hold on. There's an ad coming.
and then complete silence. Now we knew something strange was going on. We waited about 5 minutes and nothing. Couldn't hear anything. Trevor went ahead and knocked a second time. But this time, instead of racing down the staircase, something was racing up it. The footsteps were so fast. They got louder and louder with every step. We all stepped back from the door just in time as the door flew open right in front of our faces. All the lights were off, so we could hardly see anything.
Why did y'all do this with the lights? Girl, I would have had every light on. I need to see what's going on. Why would, girl? Oh,
Right after the door flew open, we saw a dark, long
is that a baby? What the fuck going on here, child?
haired figure scurry quickly through the cabin right in front of us.
Ooh.
It bolted towards the front door. I yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" Just as the dark figure opened the door into the frigid cold, it looked back at me.
Ooh. Ooh.
This time, the porch lights allowed us to see everything. Behind its long dark hair, we saw its face, about the same color as the snow outside. Its eyes were bloodshot, and I saw a stream of blood running down the side of its mouth. And then we noticed it was carrying something in its arms. It appeared to be a small child, maybe only a year old. The child's eyes were also bloodshot, and before we could get another word out, it bolted out the door with the child into the freezing cold, leaving the door wide open, letting the freezing air come inside. We immediately slammed it shut, locked it, and then threw as much furniture in front of the door as we could. Whatever that thing was, we did not want it coming back. Trevor started calling the police, and as he was dialing, he saw it.
Oh, baby, I thought they were saved. Holy shit, this bitch came back. What the hell you want, bitch?
Staring directly at him through the window at the side of the
Ooh.
cabin. Trevor dropped the phone out of shock,
Oh,
and
bitch.
we all ran to the upstairs bedroom and slammed the door shut. The only working phone we could call the police with was now on the downstairs floor. We were stuck inside
Hold on. Ain't now one of y'all got your cell phone? Do y'all not have signal out here or something? Like, what?
the upstairs bedroom, and none of us were willing to make a run for the phone. We decided to stay together in there until the morning. None of us wanted to sleep because of what we just witnessed. It seemed as if we just interrupted a witch in the middle of performing one of her witchcraft rituals. The next morning, we slowly walked downstairs together to check if anything was out of place. It looked as if everything was okay. None of us dared to walk down into the basement. We were too afraid of what we might find. We grabbed the phone and called the police to have them inspect the cabin and the basement. We told the officers what had happened the night before. They had a hard time believing us at first until they went down into the basement. We could not believe what they found. The entire basement was covered in witchcraft symbols,
Ooh.
and the carpet was all torn up. It seemed as if the kid had been trying to escape. The police also found multiple syringes covered in blood. It was clearly some sort of witchcraft ritual that we had intervened upon. The police called the host of the Airbnb to inform him about what had happened in his property. The host claimed to have no idea about what was going on in the basement. Then we let the cops know about
What you mean you ain't have no idea about what was going on in the basement? It's explicitly stated in your listing for Airbnb, the basement is off limits. Why would the basement be off limits if you had no idea what was going on? Girl.
what the Airbnb listing said about the basement being off limits, because we had a hard time believing it was all a coincidence. To this day, we still don't know what exactly happened that night in the Swiss Alps. After this experience, my friends and I never booked another Airbnb with something off limits. This experience scarred us for life.
Child. That man knew what the hell was going on. He was probably the baby daddy of that baby she was sacrificing or whatever was going on. I can almost guarantee you that's what the fuck is going on. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Well, this is much better than the first video I started doing, which is great. Story number 2.
In the summer of 2018, a couple of my friends from college, Jack and Andrew, went with me on a weekend trip to the Oregon coast. We went to college at UCLA, so it was about a 10-hour drive from where we lived. We heard the Oregon coast was very beautiful during the summer months, and that there was some great nightlife as well. All three of us split an Airbnb right on the beach. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath Victorian house all to ourselves for the weekend. It had a huge backyard garden that led right into a thick evergreen forest. Kind of reminded me of the movie Twilight. After settling in, we went out to a local bar and nightclub the first night to have some fun. We all ended up drinking too much that night. Jack and Andrew both brought girls back with them to the Airbnb. They're both really good with the ladies, so this was no surprise. When we got back, Jack and his lady friend went right up to his room, while Andrew and his girl ended up making out on a swing in the backyard garden. I
Child.
had a great girl waiting for me back at UCLA, so I spent the night alone, just...
Well, look, Look at you being a good man. This is what we like to see. Don't be out there getting them hoes just 'cause you can. See, men, take notes.
trying to block out the sounds of Jack and his girl down the hall from me.
Damn.
Finally, I was able to fall asleep.
You know what? I did used to have a roommate like that back in college, where he had like a cycle of hoes just coming in and out sometime in the night, and them walls were thin, and them girls didn't give a damn. Like they was hollering. I'm just like, girl.
After about an hour of some deep sleep, I was abruptly woken up by a girl screaming at the
What
top of
the
her lungs.
fuck?
It was 3 in the morning, so I was pissed. And then I heard someone running up the stairs of the Victorian home. It was Andrew. He came running down the hall and banged on my door as if he had just witnessed the zombie apocalypse. He yelled, "Dude, get up. You need to come down to the garden right now."
What the fuck?
I had never heard this kind of panic in Andrew's voice before. I immediately knew something really bad happened. I threw some clothes on and ran down to the backyard garden. Andrew's girl was just standing there in tears, hyperventilating and pacing back and forth.
What the fuck going on
Andrew
with this bitch?
slowly led me to a spot behind the swing. It was the same swing they were making out on earlier in the night. Andrew looked at me and said, "Brace yourself, man. You need to see what's back there." He turned his phone light on to light up the ground next to me. I looked down. All I saw were leaves everywhere from the surrounding trees. "Are you messing with me, man?" I asked. "I really wish I was," he replied. I took a second look down as Andrew shined the light at what appeared to be a human foot. My heart began to race and my hands got all sweaty. I was on the brink of freaking out. All I could see was the foot. Everything else was covered under the leaves.
Jesus.
As we were standing there in shock, staring at what appeared to be a dead corpse, we heard something take off running through the forest in the pitch black of night.
Girl.
We couldn't see anything out there, so we immediately ran back inside the Airbnb and called 911. We told the operator exactly what we witnessed and what we heard in the forest right after. When the cops showed up, they brought all sorts of tools to investigate the crime scene. When they began searching the backyard garden, they ended up finding 2 more corpses,
What?
just like the first one, covered in leaves. The cops gave us very minimal information about what they had found, but they told us that these bodies were only about 4 hours dead, which means these 3 victims were murdered in the backyard of our Airbnb while we were gone at the bar and nightclub.
What?
Andrew, Jack, and I were so sketched out about what had happened. We all decided to ditch the Airbnb and head on back to UCLA right away. Apparently, there was a murderer on the loose, and we didn't want to find out who the next victims would be. This was the first trip we ever took to the Oregon coast. And after this insane experience, it will also be the last trip we ever take there.
Child. I think the fuck not, bitch.
It was the December.
At least they were smart enough to leave that bitch and didn't try to stay around because like, oh, we already paid for it. Like, no, bitch, fuck that.
Of 2019. My girlfriend and I took a vacation to Bali, Indonesia. This has become a
Oh,
very popular vacation spot for people all around the world, so we wanted to check it out. We reserved an Airbnb a couple months in advance so that there would be no issues when we arrived. The Airbnb was located in a town called Canggu, a few miles northwest of Denpasar. When we arrived, we couldn't help but fall in love with the culture. The people were incredibly kind and the scenery was beautiful. The Airbnb ended up being a very close walk to the nearby beaches, so we spent most of our first day chilling on the beach drinking beer. We walked back to our Airbnb late that night after bar hopping. As we were walking up to the Airbnb, we noticed someone running down the sidewalk.
what?
It seemed as if
Whoa,
they
whoa,
were
whoa, whoa, whoa,
running
whoa, wait, wait,
away from
wait,
our
wait, wait, wait,
Airbnb late that night
wait.
after bar hopping. As we were walking up to the Airbnb, we noticed someone running down the sidewalk. It seemed as if they were running away from our Airbnb. This had both of us creeped out. After we got back inside, I made sure nothing was out of place. It seemed as if everything was normal
What?
until the next morning when we woke up. As I stood up out of bed, I looked above the fireplace and saw something out of the ordinary.
Is that a
In
camera?
between two of the flower vases was this black circular object.
It's a camera, girl.
I walked over to check it out and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a tiny video camera hidden behind the vases. I immediately showed my girlfriend because this thing was pointed right at our bed the entire night. Whoever planted this device could have been watching everything we were doing the night before. We wanted to find out if our Airbnb host knew about this because it was a clear violation of privacy according to Airbnb. We messaged him in the app and waited all day for his reply, but he never replied to us. The app even showed that he read my message, but still no reply.
See. I feel like that's grounds for me to get up out of here. And do they already deduct your money before you get there, or is it done after you leave? Because if it's done after I leave, you ain't getting no money from me. If I'm telling you that you done violated my privacy, or at least I suspect that you violated my privacy, and then you go read my message and leave me dust. Oh, okay. Well, you ain't getting no money then. I'm getting up out of here. Deuces. Oh, but they are way off in Indonesia. It's not like they can just go back home. Ooh. 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 Never
We
mind.
thought that maybe he was really busy with something and would reply a little later. We waited
Nah, busy my ass. If I'm suspecting that you violated my goddamn privacy, you better respond with a something. Shit.
4 hours for his response, but still nothing. At this point, we made sure to take the batteries out of the video camera and pointed it at the wall. This was only day 2 of our 5-day trip in Bali, so we didn't want this to ruin our vacation. We decided to go out to the beach again to take some surfing lessons that afternoon. When we got back to the Airbnb that night, the video camera was gone. We had left it on the ground facing the wall with the batteries removed, but both the camera and the batteries were gone. We tried to stay calm and assumed the host got rid of the video camera after reading my message.
Nah. Nah. That ain't really what y'all mind saying. Y'all know that if that was the case, they would have responded and let you know. Like anybody who's doing something like that would tell you that, hey, we came in, we did this. But even if that was the host, that's creepy. That means that he knew about the camera. But I know y'all don't want to talk about the fact that y'all saw somebody running out y'all, I mean, Airbnb the other day.
But it didn't make any sense to me why he wouldn't just message me back in the app.
Exactly.
Later that night, as we were laying in bed together, I heard some movement coming from outside the window. I figured it was just people walking home from the beach bars. A little while later, I heard it again, but this time it was an hour after the bars had already closed for the night. I decided to quietly walk over to the window to check out what was going on. When I got to the window, I didn't see anything at first, and then I peeked down below the windowsill and spotted someone with a hoodie covering up their head. This creep must have been spying on my girlfriend and I in bed for the past few hours. I was so disturbed by this, I immediately called the local police department in Canggu. About 10 minutes later, 2 cop cars showed up and lit up the side of the house where the creep was standing. He immediately bolted to escape the cops until one of the officers chased him down and tackled him. I went outside to see who was spying on us. It was the host of the Airbnb. He
What? You know what? I actually didn't even suspect that, to be honest with you. I didn't even suspect that. I'm like, somebody done broke into y'all shit. But I mean, I guess it makes sense for the host to have a key to his own place. But you just watching people? Girl?
he planted the video camera on the fireplace himself. We ended up getting refunded the entire amount for the Airbnb and then spent the last 3 nights at a local hotel. After this sketchy experience, I recommend to all my friends to make sure they meet the host in person on arrival and to keep an eye out for anything abnormal in the Airbnb. Thanks for watching. You can
Child. That is kind of weird. I've actually never even really thought about that. Usually, anytime we communicate with an Airbnb person, it's like via text or email. I don't think I've only really done an Airbnb maybe like once or twice, and I've still never like met the person whose Airbnb it was. We just communicated via, whatever. So this is actually a good idea. Just kind of make sure that you're not being peeped out. Even if you do meet the person, it doesn't mean that they're not creepy. So, ciao. But anyway, that was this video, y'all. I'm actually gonna record a couple more of these. I'm about to actually film with Maddie to do this Canada's Drag Race review. So make sure y'all go check that out on Monday. I'm not sure when this is gonna be out. This might be out either Sunday or Monday. I'm not sure which day. And I'm going to record a couple more of these today to release during the week. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, follow all my social media in the links below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.